You're a cantaloupe.
5 long years he wore this watch up his ass.
These are my cactuses. I put googly eyes on them.
Sometimes when I'm driving, I have this sudden impulse to turn the wheel quickly, head on into the oncoming car.
Peter Pan has found a mother.
You want me to say what? Like, I don't get it. Is that it?
The ice is gonna break!
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Walken 101, the podcast where we watch every Christopher Walken project in chronological order. That could be movie, TV show, play, whatever we can get our hands on. I'm Kenny Johnson, documentary filmmaker, editor. I am teaching myself how to pick locks. I don't know if I told you this. Yeah, I bought a $20 lock pick kit on Amazon.
To what end?
I just learned how to pick locks.
All
just
right.
for fun. I heard Werner Herzog, he suggested all filmmakers should learn how to do it. So I'm like, I guess so. So that's the journey I'm taking right now.
Wow, what a journey. That's good. I'm Brandon Hardesty, actor, video maker, and have you ever experienced restless leg syndrome?
When your leg just like shakes or does something weird?
No, this is something this is something on my mind the past couple of days. A couple nights ago, I get this feeling in my legs. I wake up in the middle of the night, like 2:30 in the morning, and I feel like this itch that I can't scratch. It's deep within my legs, and it's.
This is sounding like some deep shit right now.
No, but I looked this up, and apparently, and I had experienced it before, but I didn't know what this was. It's called restless leg syndrome, and it's not even pain, but it's so uncomfortable. Your legs will only get relief if you start moving them. So when they're moving, my legs felt fine, but when I tried to get back to sleep, it was such an uncomfortable. The only way to describe it is like an itch. It's like a drug addict or something.
Weird. That is weird. How did you get that?
I don't know. It's I looked it up. The causes could be iron deficiency. But I don't know if I'm deficient with iron, but I'm gonna try taking some vitamins, see if that helps. And it didn't happen last night, so I think it's just sporadic.
It's all in your head. It's all in your head.
I don't know.
Now it's going to be in my head because you said it, and now I'm going to think about it. So when I get a weird itch, I'm going to be like, this is it. I'm having the same thing that Hardesty has, and I have a problem now.
It's weird. It's one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever felt because, again, it's not even pain, and even calling it an itch doesn't quite describe it. It's just something like deep inside the bone marrow of your leg. It feels like there's
Let's
just
stop
something.
talking about it because now it's in my brain. I don't want to keep talking about it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We're done.
Made you uncomfortable.
We're done. All right. So today we watched. This is the big one. This is a big one.
Yeah.
Deer Hunter.
The Deer Hunter.
The Deer Hunter. Make sure you get the in the beginning there. When was this movie made?
1978.
Directed by
Michael Cimino, I believe is how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
Cimino.
Yep. Stars De Niro.
Christopher Walken. Of course. Meryl Streep, John Savage, John Cazale.
Yeah.
Has a great cast.
Big movie.
Big movie. Won 5 Oscars. Won for, I believe it was, let me see here, picture, actor in supporting role, Walken. Director for Michael Cimino, best sound, and best film editing. So, I mean, what else can we say about this movie that hasn't already been said? I mean, we thought about getting in depth with stuff, but really we're here to talk about Walken's performance in this movie. So we'll leave the plot to a minimum, maybe a little bit when we'll get into Walken's performance. But first,
little shout outs.
we got some Walken 101 shout outs. We have some patrons on Patreon donating $5 or more. Thank you very much. Doug Heavener, who is, that's how it's pronounced, by the way. It's not Heavener. Heaving his money at us.
Heaving.
And he said, yeah, that's how we pronounce it. And I said, awesome. By episode 12, we'll get it right. So, thank you, Dougie boy.
Thank you. And then our other one.
Our other one is Tom Byrne.
Burning his money on this podcast. But thank you.
Yes.
In all seriousness,
we jest, but thank you very much, Tom Byrne.
So
we should take a walk in our shoes.
A walk-in in our shoes. Catch up with us.
Yeah.
What have you been up to since our last record?
Let's see. Still, again, every time I describe my life, I feel like it's boring. I'm just
It is.
It is. It's incredibly. I'm just still unpacking things in the house, things trickling in, working, making IMDb videos. I am. So this is going to be our last podcast before I go to LA for a couple weeks and shoot that commercial that we were talking about for solar panels.
Yes.
And I'm really excited for that. And I'll see my friends. Meet with a couple casting directors out there, I think. And I mean, that's pretty much all that's going on in my life.
Simple.
Just working, trying to get stuff done. And you, what's going on with you? You're going to China.
I'm going to China. Yeah. Wednesday, I'm leaving. I'm going over there to film a documentary on 6 MMA fighters. I believe it's 6. I don't really know the exact details on what I'm doing,
Right.
which is kind of crazy and kind of insane, but it's a free trip to China. So I said, of course. Yeah, why not? I'm going to come. I'll make a movie about these guys. I'll follow their journey as they train, get ready for their fight, and then they have a fight. Film that, and then afterwards talk about, did you win? Did you lose? What's next? Or it's just going to be complete craziness. I'm just going to film myself going there on this like kind of Gonzo-esque journey, of me going to China and experiencing this stuff, going to film, MMA, which I know very little about, like almost nothing,
Right.
and just the experience,
And now this company Evolve that has hired you for a lot of projects, they've let you just have full creative control. You go there, you don't even know what it's going to be. You're just
So Evolve is the wrestling company. WWN Live is the parent company. They own Evolve and several other promotions, wrestling promotions. But WWN has this deal with this other company over in China where they want to bring events over there. It could be wrestling, fighting, boxing, whatever they can really bring over. So this time they're bringing over fighting. Before they brought over wrestling, and the Chinese didn't really understand that, because wrestling's never really been over there before. They're like, well, what do you mean it's fake? It's predetermined. So they didn't really understand that. And I think there's a bigger market for boxing and fighting. So they're going to try fighting now. And that's the whole deal with this trip. But yeah, no idea what I'm getting myself into. Zero.
All right. Well,
But it should make for an interesting movie.
sounds like fun.
Yeah. Speaking of interesting movie, that was a good segue. That was an amazing segue.
Interesting movie, and we just watched an interesting movie.
We did.
Master of segues.
We just ate Chipotle.
We did.
Like, I feel slow now.
Yeah, I think that happens after anybody eats Chipotle. I think there's a warning on the bag when you get it. We feel
so
sluggish.
Yeah.
We can't. If we were to take like some mental endurance tests before and after Chipotle, the results would decline. I think
Rapidly. Okay, yeah. So, The Deer Hunter.
The Deer Hunter,
It's a
baby.
3-hour movie. Okay.
Yeah.
So I woke up today, and I'm like, I don't want to watch this movie.
Yeah.
And we usually watch these movies in the morning, and then we record right afterwards. It's Sunday morning, right? Hardesty was nice enough to be like, come over to my house. We'll watch it over there. We have a couch and everything. We'll sit down and enjoy it, And I was just like, man, I don't want to do this. It's kind of a depressing movie.
It is, and I'm sorry that we sat down on a really shitty. It's the shittiest futon in the world, and I apologize. We're getting another couch soon,
Right.
But it's this IKEA like really small futon couch, and we're like uncomfortably close together, like Europeans.
Yeah, we were so close, just uncomfortable. We both had laptops in our lap, or you had a pad of paper, and it's just like we're sitting there, like taking notes. And sometimes we'd be like comment during these movies and make like jokes a little bit. But I know you had never seen it, so I'm like, I don't want to take away anything from it for you. So I'm like kind of sitting there and just like watching this movie and getting like more and more like depressed about.
You seem depressed now.
Yeah,
your voice
it's
is
Chipotle.
even.
Chipotle did not help.
It was Deer Hunter.
Let's
and then
hold on.
Chipotle.
Before we move on, let's talk about the Chipotle we went to. Because it's really pissed me off. We get there, right? There's nobody in line. That's like a never. You never see that at Chipotle.
That's true.
We walk right up. We get our stuff, and they're still moving like really slow, getting our things, and they're like, "Oh, we're out of lettuce. You can wait 10 minutes for us to chop up the lettuce, and then you can have it." And we're like, "No, just let's move on." We get to the register, and nobody's there. Nobody's there to take our money, and we're just like sitting there, like our food's right there, the table's over there. I want to take the food and go over to the table and eat, but I can't. I have to like wait. We waited like 2-3 minutes for them to check us out. Check out. Finally, get our stuff, and I'm like, all right, I just want a little cup of free water. So I go over and I want some ice, want some water.
Ice.
No ice. They're like filling up with ice. I'm like, what's going on here? What's going on here? It's the little things in life.
Yeah.
You know?
And what's very similar, it was very similar to what I think the characters in The Deer Hunter went through in Vietnam.
Another good segue.
It was may have been worse. We may be more psychologically scarred.
Yeah. Our experience is definitely worse. You know, I mean, we didn't have the ice, and then afterwards, I was like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna be a rebel." So I took the free water cup and I got some soda before we left.
Really? No, but there was a sign on the soda machine that said, "Don't get in hot water. Don't fill your water cup with soda."
Fuck that! I'm drinking it right now.
Wow! Right before my eyes.
That's Coca-Cola right there that you're hearing. That's not water.
Wow.
Deer Hunter. The Deer Hunter. This is your first time seeing this movie, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I had seen the first act of it a long time ago, and I forget why I turned it off. I was like, all right, I'm going to finish it later. I never did. But yeah, this is my first time watching it all the way through.
I guess the simple synopsis is this. For those who haven't seen it, go out and see it. It's an extremely good movie.
Yeah.
It's very long. It is 3 hours. It's primarily broken down like this. The first act is a bunch of these guys, very blue-collar town somewhere in Pennsylvania, I think. You got De Niro, you got Walken, a couple other friends, and they're all getting ready to. Their one friend's getting married, right? Their one friend's getting married, and the guys are getting shipped off to Vietnam like that following Monday. So like this is going to be our big last hurrah. We're going to get drunk, we're going to party, have fun, get married, laugh, live. It's like lively. Everybody's, the town is alive, and all this crazy stuff's happening. Second act is, okay, boom, we're in Vietnam, we're in the fucking shit.
Yeah.
We are in the shit. De Niro gets captured, and Walken and his other friend, they get captured. They're held in this crazy, like, water torture prison camp where they have to play Russian roulette. They escape by murdering everybody, and then finally, they go back home. But not everybody comes home, and then in the third act, De Niro has to go and find Walken and his other friend and be like, let's try to heal these massive giant wounds of Vietnam. Yeah. So that's essentially the very simple plot synopsis.
Yeah. And I like I wrote down a lot of notes for like the first act of it, but like I guess the main thing I want to say that I really liked, it was just this slow. It was like when you make something in a slow cooker. And you're going to cook it overnight at a really low temperature for like 8 hours, and it's just going to be juicier. That's what that first hour was. It was like us getting to know these characters, but we don't even know anything specific about them. We're just like hanging out with these like 5 guys, getting drunk. They go out and they go hunting. They're all fucking with each other, all busting each other's balls. And there's just, I think especially as like a guy to watch the movie, there's this male camaraderie as we watch it, and we feel like we've been hanging out with them for a while. We get to know them. And then it makes everything afterwards much more effective. Just correct. Even though there were just shots where, it excuse me, where it actually gets a little boring. Where it's just I felt like we experienced an entire wedding reception.
We did,
almost. It felt like it was like 2 hours
there.
Long.
We were there.
We were there.
Yep.
The punch was delicious, and it just helped everything afterwards. Like we really got to know them and hang out with these blue collar guys for a while.
Yeah.
And, I thought it was great. The little bit I've read about it, I think Roger Ebert wrote something about how it's not making any statement about war. It's just like throwing this shit up against the wall and saying, "This is it.
This is it."
And I did really like. It made you. I really liked when Robert De Niro. This is the last thing I'll say. Then we can move on to Walken. But like, I liked it when De Niro comes back, and I feel like it must have been one of the first movies you see where you feel what a veteran feels when they come back, and everyone's all excited, but it's just not the same. Like you don't want to have people come up to you and pat you on the back and paw all over your uniform and wow, you were over there. What's it like? And we're with him every step of the way when we feel what he's thinking. Like, I don't want to talk about it. this was really an awful experience, but he's putting his best face on for all of his friends back home.
Yeah.
So it was really well done. I feel like I went through a war and back.
Yep.
Obviously not really. Don't want to.
You don't want to experience that.
I don't, and I don't want to suggest that I even know what that's like. But,
Right.
But it was a harrowing, haunting, awful experience.
Yeah. Depressing.
Depressing, yeah, I would say depressing. Ended with an ironic singing of "God Bless America."
Yep.
And then we were done.
That
So
was it.
there is a lot to talk about with Christopher Walken's character.
Yes. So I guess we'll start with the first act.
Okay.
The happy act.
Yep. So yeah, like Christopher Walken, yes, his character at first, he's one of the guys. You know, he's got a good sense of humor. One of these working class guys. They all work at like a steel mill.
Yeah, some melting steel, and it looked like hell. It really looked like hell.
Well, the first thing you said when we were watching the movie, like, God, that'd be a horrible fucking job.
Right. What an existence.
Yeah. And he's just a nice guy. Give you the shirt off his back. There's that little monologue he gives about the trees. It kind of suggests that he sees the beauty in life.
Correct. Yeah.
There is a little bit of it's implied that, excuse me, that Meryl Streep's character, who I guess they're actually a couple, but she has some feelings for De Niro.
Mm-hmm.
There may have been some hoochie going on, but we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, I feel like it's implied that Walken knows that something's going on, or something could possibly be going on between De Niro and Streep. There's this one moment I really loved with Walken where he's dancing, which, by the way, we got a little bit of dancing.
A little bit of dancing.
Yep, got to
Good
see
dance.
a little bit of that. So he's dancing with like this random girl at the wedding, and he sees, as he's dancing with her, he looks over and he sees Streep with De Niro at a bar, and he says almost like out loud to himself, "It's okay." Like, you don't even hear the dialogue, but he gives a nod and he says something along the lines of "it's okay" out loud to himself, almost convincing himself like nothing's going on. And I don't know, it was like a little moment that I really liked, because I've done that when I've been drunk before. At this point, everybody's been drinking.
Yeah.
And it's like your inner thoughts, you just start saying them out loud, even if you're by yourself. It's just to hear yourself talk out loud. It almost helps your coordination mentally and physically. So, like, I don't know. I don't know if that's why he did that, or I don't know. But I really like that part.
Yeah. He was at his charming Walken best.
Oh, he was.
Very charming.
Most certainly.
Very suave.
Fuckable.
Yeah, he's ready. He could probably pick up any lady that he wanted to. Mm-hmm. You know, and he's the best. He was the best man at the wedding.
Yes.
Okay? Best man at the wedding. And there's this huge almost contrast between him and De Niro. Now, him and De Niro are best friends. I believe they live together in a trailer. And you look around the walls and you see like all these like trophy heads that De Niro has collected of the animals and stuff. And Walken is very much like you were saying, that much more of a passive character, sees the beauty in life. You know, he likes the trees and things like that. He probably got talked into the army via De Niro. You know, he's like, you should go into the army, and Walken's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. I think he even goes and is a part of the I don't know what division he is, but I think he's airborne, or he's in the air. Mm-hmm. He's not really in the action, as opposed to De Niro, who is going right towards the action.
Yeah, De Niro must have been like infantry.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that was, like I said, that was his charmable best right there. He looked great. He was awesome.
And there was a lot of especially in the first hour of the movie, there's so many organic scenes, just felt very natural. Mm-hmm. You could tell, and Walken even says, this is in an interview for Rolling Stone on May 13th, 2016. Corey Grow, who's interviewing him, says, Robert De Niro has said that in the final Russian roulette scene, you didn't work directly off a script. Instead, you took direction and worked off each other. Christopher Walken said, the Deer Hunter had a very solid script, but making that movie was a little bit like making jazz, playing off each other. That's particularly because of the actors involved. Accidents happen while the camera's rolling, so it was spontaneous within a structure. So there's a lot of, it seemed like there was a lot of improv, a lot of time that these actors spent together just getting to know each other, building that friendship, so it makes everything especially if they did the Vietnam stuff after the first act stuff, like shot chronologically. I don't know if they did that.
I'm not sure.
But if they did, it must have been a lot easier to get into character and act in those scenes in the second act after building a friendship, like a whole real camaraderie with the other actors.
Right.
For Christ's sake, Mike Stevens getting married in a couple hours. I don't know what the hell we're even doing. We're talking about hunting the last time before the Army. The whole thing, it's crazy.
I'll tell you one thing. If I found out my life had to end up in the mountains, I'd be all right. But it has to be in your mind.
What?
One shot? Two, it's pussy.
I don't think about one shot that much anymore, Mike.
You have to think about one shot. One shot is what it's all about. Deer has to be taken with one shot. I try to tell people that. They don't listen. You really think about getting in?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'm thinking about the deer. Going on. I like the trees, you know? I like the way the trees are in the mountains, all different. The way the trees are. Sound like some asshole, huh?
I tell you, Nick, you're the only guy I go hunting with, you know? I like a guy with quick moves and speed. I ain't gonna hunt with no assholes.
Well, who's an asshole?
Who's an asshole? Who do you think's an asshole? They're all a bunch of assholes. I mean, I love them. They're great guys, but, you know, without you, I hunt alone. Seriously, that's what I do.
But you're a fucking nut. You know that, Mike? You're a maniac. Control freak.
I just don't like no surprises.
Damn thing will happen.
Well, give it a kick! Hey, not like that. Not like that. Not that. Here.
And yeah, like the other thing too was like De Niro was much kind of almost like a dick, a little bit of a bully,
A little bit.
and Walken's just trying to keep the peace. He's like, all right, come on, let's just, because there's that scene where he's like trying to get the boots. He's like, what's his name? Was trying, like, just let me borrow your boots. I forgot to bring the boots while they go deer hunting.
Right.
And Walken's just like, yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing? Here's my boots. De Niro, don't be a jerk. And he De Niro takes a gun and he like shoots off into the air, and it's just like he's just being an asshole. Mm-hmm. And then boom, smash cut. I'm talking like we're in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Opening shot, second act, right? Helicopter flies in and just napalms a whole small village.
Yeah.
You know, it's intense. De Niro's like laying dead on the ground. You're like, what happened to him? And then he wakes up and he freaking blowtorches this one Viet Cong guy, and he like shoots him 100 times on the ground as he's dead. And there's Walken and the other friend, Steven, who played him, by the way, because he's going to come up a lot.
John Savage, I believe.
Okay, Savage, yeah, John Savage. So they're in the helicopter and they land. They're trying to pick up whoever like is left on the ground alive, and like, oh, holy shit, it's De Niro. You're alive. You're alive. Oh my God, you're alive. And then boom, explosion. Something happens. They get attacked by the enemy, and then they're all in this prison camp, essentially.
Yeah.
And by prison camp, it's a small little hut on a river, and they're under the hut in the water of the river.
Yeah.
You know, and they're just like waiting to essentially die. And it's incredibly intense. And you're just like, what is going on? Yeah. What is happening?
They're all being forced to play this Russian roulette game.
Yeah, they're being pulled up from the water. You know, guns held to their head. John Savage just like crumbling and just like wanting to die. And De Niro is like all intense, like, you know, show them how big your balls are. Just like, he's like, fuck these guys, you know, get the gun and you pull that trigger. You know, you're going to pull that trigger. You're going to get out of here. You're going to die.
Yeah.
So eventually it leads to probably one of the most intense scenes in film history. And that is De Niro and Walken playing Russian roulette across the table from one another. De Niro has this crazy plan. He's like, we're going to load the gun up with 3 bullets. You're going to pull the trigger. I'm going to pull the trigger. We're going to somehow not kill ourselves.
Yeah. But
I'm going to grab the gun and then kill everyone else in the room. You're going to grab another gun and just start shooting. So it's like this incredibly intense scene where it is, you don't know if they're going to, A, shoot themselves, if they're going to get shot by their captors, or if they're going to escape and shoot everybody. And even if they do escape, will they be able to do it? So it's this incredibly intense scene where it's like all these things could go wrong.
Yeah.
And Walken's getting slapped in the face, you know, where it's like, Mao, dating Mao, you know, pull the trigger, slapping him in the face. You can see the red imprint on Walken's face.
Yeah.
De Niro, it's just like, you know, you motherfucker, I'm going to kill everybody in a room. And Walken's just trying to hold on to whatever humanity he has left. And they do it.
Yep.
They somehow escape.
And like how intense that scene is. This is there were several. This is from. Let's see if I could find it real quick. This is off of tvtropes.org. There's a whole list of times in films where there was enforced method acting going on. So during the Russian roulette scenes, there was this guy. There was this Viet Cong who's just slapping De Niro and Christopher Walken across the face. And if I'm trying to find, hold on one second. So in the same Rolling Stone interview, Walken says, the guy who was slapping me was an attorney from Bangkok. I don't think he'd been in a movie before or after, but he was a Thai lawyer. He smacked me in the face for a couple hours.
Yeah, and you could see the imprint on his face.
Yeah, and Walken, again, we've established that Walken is terrified of guns. He even goes on to say in the Rolling Stone article, anytime you got guns in a movie, I triple check everything. People make mistakes. And according to Walken, there was talk about putting a live round in the gun at some point. I don't know if they were actually going to start firing or...
That's crazy.
But he says at one point, Bob wanted to put a live round in the gun just to crank the intensity. We had a whole conference about, okay, we're going to do it, but we're going to check this thing 5,000 times.
Oh, God.
We went to a lot of extremes on that film. I don't even like holding them. Whenever I hold a gun, I want to get out of my hand as quick as possible. That's from Entertainment Weekly. So there was a lot of... and there was also... sorry, in a different interview, he's talking about all of the like genuine situations they were in. This guy, let's see, it was New York Times by Janet Maslin in 1978, interview with Walken. They're talking about however much physical exertion Mr. Cimino, the director's next film, demands of its actors, it is not likely to be as strenuous as his Vietnam War epic The Deer Hunter. That 5-month shooting schedule culminated in a grueling stay in Thailand where a terrifying torture sequence was staged. Mr. Walken and other actors playing American prisoners of war were confined in special cages that had been built on the River Kwai, not far from the famous bridge.
Yeah.
As Mr. Walken recalls, the circumstances were genuine. We were up to here in the water. It was hot. It was hot. I just want to repeat that. It was hot, baby. It was hot. And we'd been doing it a long time. We'd been tied up. There were mosquitoes. There were rats. So that's probably not how he actually said it. But again, I'm trying to...
Yeah.
I feel like we need to do the really over-the-top Walken voice on that.
That's what you got to do.
Then the director and Robert De Niro, who stars in the film, came up with the idea of having one of the Thai actors repeatedly slap Mr. Walken's and Mr. De Niro's faces, trying to force him to play a round of Russian roulette. Mr. Walken had not known exactly how he was going to summon the necessary note of horror for the scene. That was one of many big moments I had in the film where I walked onto the set thinking, I wish I knew what I was doing, he recalled. But when somebody belts you 50 times, you don't have to fake a reaction. You don't have trouble shaking. So, yeah.
It was intense.
It was definitely intense.
I'm sitting there, and I know what's going to happen. I remember what happens, but I don't remember exactly what, like, the details and everything. But man, what like I had seen this movie, but yet I'm still entranced in the scene, still caught up in the emotion.
Yeah. And I knew where it was going. I knew that Walken was going to die, but I didn't know under what circumstances.
Okay.
And
did you think he was going to die there?
No. Because I think what I had done was I accidentally, or maybe on purpose, I forget, I was researching something, and I watched the final scene where Walken shoots himself.
Oh, okay.
And I saw the scene we were watching, and I'm like, this doesn't look the same.
Right.
He must play Russian roulette later on.
Yep.
And that's an interesting thing, is like, why, they're done with the war. They're going home. They're both injured in different ways.
Yep.
And both of them find themselves, without organizing it, both of them find themselves at an unofficial, dingy Russian roulette game.
Correct.
In Vietnam.
Yeah, that's right after they had both been rescued. in separate hospitals. They have no idea what's happened to each other. And in fact, I think Walken makes it on the helicopter, and De Niro and Savage fall off the helicopter, and then boom, we're in Saigon where Walken is getting treated, and he has this like emotional breakdown.
Oh my god!
Where it's like he can't even talk about like his, they're asking him, what's the name of your parents? When were they born? And he can't even get it out. He just is completely broken. There's nothing left.
Shevchelevich, is that a Russian name?
No, it's American.
All right, let me see your name tag.
It's his.
What are your parents' names?
Lou. And my mother's name is Eva.
And what are your parents' dates of birth? We're gonna have to get him out of here.
Yeah.
And then he's wandering the streets of Saigon, comes into this, Russian roulette game where they're playing in the back of probably some shop.
Yeah.
And then, of course, De Niro is sitting over in the corner watching it as well. And it's just like, what's going on? Then Walken goes crazy, picks up the gun. He points the trigger at himself. He points the trigger at the guys. And
it clicks both times. And it's like an interesting thing that like a big question that Walken must have had to ask himself is why did I show up to this game? Like why did my character want to see this? And really, but why did De Niro? Why was he there? Was it a fascination with how people would do this for fun? Was it trying to face their fears of what they went through? Maybe if they go through it again or just watch it peripherally, then it'll take some of the fear away, a little bit of the PTSD. And then Walken, there was an element of just him being just so emotionally distraught that he just became suicidal.
Right.
It must have been that. And then for him to be also, he was sending money back to John Savage. He was like making shitloads of money just winning games of Russian roulette, or I guess he had risen to the point where he was organizing these games.
Right.
Became like a boss of this
yeah.
underground game of Russian roulette, and he was just sending cash back to John Savage in the States. And
and then that brings us to the third act, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
De Niro comes home. It's much more about De Niro at this point, and he is just very distant, very different, just doesn't want to be that hero. He's got the, his army suit on and everything, but he doesn't want that recognition. He doesn't want to talk about it. And then they're like, well, we got to go find Walken. Where is he? He's gone AWOL. We can't find him.
Mm-hmm.
De Niro starts putting it all together when he talks to John Savage about the money he's getting from Walken. So De Niro goes back to frickin' Vietnam to try to get his buddy, and then he's only in one scene at the very end, and he is this complete comatose Walken. Nothing is happening. He's a zombie now almost. He's got his sunken eyes are like super sunken now.
Yeah.
De Niro's like, you know who I am, right? You know who I am. And Walken has no idea. He's gone, completely gone.
Yeah.
And then he plays the game and doesn't go in his favor. And they have that final show off where it's like De Niro just like, come on, I love you, man. Just come home with me. Please come home.
Yeah.
And he can't do it. He pulls the trigger and boom.
Then that's it.
Walken's dead.
Oscar.
Yeah,
he won an Oscar.
Frickin' Oscar from that
Academy Award.
And that's crazy if you really think about it, because 2-3 years ago he was a secondary detective that had 2 lines maybe in the Sentinel.
Yep. And
he making all these super independent movies. Boom, Oscar.
Yeah.
And don't you have the story? What was the story of him coming into casting for this movie? You were telling me about that.
Yeah. This was the same New York Times article where he goes, he's walked in to audition. He goes, I walked in and he asked me, the director, who I'd like to play. I named about 4 of them, but I figured if I was lucky, I might get to play Stan, the one that John Cazale played. I never expected him to cast me as Nick. It was just too good a part.
Yeah.
So he was essentially given this part and just put in his dues. And I don't have it here, but I remember reading somewhere that he was making pretty much $11,000 a year acting, And from the if you want to count from I guess 69, it took him almost 10 years to. I mean, he was making a living as an actor. He wasn't doing anything else, but it took him almost 10 years to really blow up. Like this was it.
That's like once you get that Academy Award, it kind of puts that stamp on your resume. It's like, okay, now you're an established actor. You can pretty much walk in and say, okay, I want this or I want that, or I can take this, I can take that. People send you things, scripts to read, and you're probably auditioning, but probably not as much. I would assume it's like it's Christopher Walken. Like you walk in, like, okay, we know what we're getting.
Yeah.
So,
and this was also we've talked about this before, but it's definitely this and Annie Hall. They both came out around the same time, so he was known for playing these kind of troubled characters, and he said that on multiple occasions. This is one interview for Newsweek by Zach Schoenfeld on May 4th, 2016. He asks him, "You play a pretty bizarre and deranged character in this movie he was promoting. Do you go out of your way to seek out these eccentric roles, or do they find you?" And Walken said, I've been reading the Walken voice a lot. I think you should read this. I think you need to do the Walken voice.
I don't want to do the Walken voice. You're better at the Walken voice. Go ahead, you do it. I don't want to pass it off on me. I got to practice mine. I'm only good at the quiet Walken voice.
Okay. All right, fine. I think if you're an actor and if you're lucky and you're lucky enough to work, especially over a long period of time, you might want to find a place for yourself. Someone suggested that to me early in my movie career. I was in Annie Hall, which was followed almost immediately by The Deer Hunter. That's the first time I got seen by a lot of people. In Annie Hall, I played a suicidal driver. In The Deer Hunter, I shot myself in the head. It could be that very early on in my movie career, I got known for playing troubled souls. It stuck a little bit. I think it makes sense. Movies is a business. And if you do something and it works, then it makes sense that you'd be asked to do something similar repeatedly. Now, I sound
that's good. That almost sums up his career. That's his thesis statement right there going forward, I feel like.
Yeah, and he even goes forward, and I didn't even think about this, like, he goes, it happens with people who play the leading man. It happens with people who play the leading man's best friend. And there's the funny character. There's the villain. I think I got not stuck, but I got familiar with troubled people who are not so wholesome.
Yeah.
And that pretty much sums it up. So he's very self-aware of his career. I don't know if it's hindsight now or if he was aware of it at the time, but he just seems to, again, he's been on record as just saying he loves to work, and he's happy to work whatever jobs get offered him.
Yeah. And that's interesting because even in Roseland, he was somewhat of the romantic lead, but he was not really the typical romantic lead. You know what I'm saying? He was a gigolo.
Yeah, it was a little off.
There was something a little bit dark in there. So even when he is in those roles where he could be the leading man, there's a little darkness to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in the this is another little snippet in The Observer, an interview done in 2012 by Sean O'Hagan. Most of the big things that happened in my life I never saw coming. The Deer Hunter was like that. I was dancing in a musical, and somebody said, auditioning for a film just down the street. Why don't you go along? So I went along, and it changed my life. People often ask me about choices. I don't make choices. I just take the next good thing that comes along. That was another of those terrific accidents.
Wow.
Powerful. Not very powerful. There was a pause afterwards that implied that was powerful, but it wasn't really powerful. It was interesting.
Yeah. You say it like that. His Oscar speech. We got to pull that up.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll pull that up. I kind of want to listen to it, actually.
Yeah, it's really short. I actually watched it last night just to see it. And it's uploaded by the official Oscars YouTube channel.
Well, anyway, the nominees for Outstanding Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role are Bruce Dern in Coming Home.
Wow.
Telly Savalas presenting the Oscar to him, coincidentally.
Wow. That's weird.
Christopher Walken in The Deer Hunter.
Until the cheer is always a little bit louder, and like you know who's going to win.
Yeah.
You know who the favorite is.
Gordon in Heaven Can Wait.
Who loves you, baby?
And the winner is Christopher Walken in The Deer Hunter.
Right.
But too, he was super young back then. I always feel like that's what they do. They give the awards to the more younger guys to really establish their career going forward. Because he was kind of... Bruce Dern, I guess, was kind of also young, but...
That's why it took so long for, like, Scorsese to get an Oscar.
Thank you, Michael. I'm very happy to have this. I salute Michael Cimino with this Oscar here tonight. And I'd like to add my thanks to the members of the Academy and to Mr. Robert De Niro. Thank you all.
Simple.
That was it. Short and simple.
Wow.
You know, something that I appreciate about an Oscar speech like that, or in general, is I hate it when somebody gets up there and gets an Oscar and be like, I totally didn't expect this. I didn't even write a speech. I didn't, like, the false humility is just like bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's just refreshing when someone just goes up there, thank you so much. It's a great honor. Thanks.
Yeah, he thanks everybody. Like, thanks the director, thanks his fellow actor.
And then he moves on with his life and moves on with his career. He goes on to the next project.
He does. Very respectful.
Very respectful. Gotta love that guy.
Well, next episode when we have him on, we'll have to talk about that. Maybe
Yeah.
we can get him to bring the Oscar along so you can show that to us.
Oh, that would be nice.
It would be great. It would be fantastic.
Oh man.
So
yeah.
that was the epic. That was The Deer Hunter.
That was it, man. That was a hell of a thing.
So what's next?
Wow. So
what's next on tap?
After this, let's see here. Hold on one second. Christopher Walken, IMDb.
Is it The Last Embrace, I believe?
The Last Embrace. I don't know much about it. Last Embrace. Harry breaks down and loses his job after his wife is assassinated. Could it be his turn next?
What the fuck?
Hey,
what?
Hey, it could be good. Won't you? You're just going into this with a bad attitude. Every time.
Who's the? What does he play?
What does he play?
Yeah.
He plays Eckert. Looks like to be one of the only characters without a first and last name. Which may be a bad,
How the fuck did that happen?
Might be a bad sign. I don't know. Maybe this was filmed before The Deer Hunter. But maybe this is like just the last little trickle out of his previous career before it took this new path. And then after The Last Embrace, it's like, okay, now we're getting into the roles that he was offered as a result of the Deer Hunter success.
Oh, man.
Maybe.
This doesn't even look. This doesn't even look appealing.
Well, you know, if you go in thinking like that, it won't be.
I don't care.
I'm sitting here watching Kenny laugh, and also it has a look of disdain on his face, just staring at the poster of someone falling off a waterfall. It seems.
Yeah, and it's Roy Scheider. Yeah, Roy Scheider is the lead here, and he's trying to save his wife.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the bottom of the poster is Roy again, and he's hugging the girl.
Good.
What the fuck?
I don't know. We'll find out. It looks to be like a thriller.
It begins with an ancient warning. It ends at the edge of Niagara Falls. In between, there are 5 murders. Solve the mystery or die trying.
Well,
that's the tagline.
Let's see. Well, we're gonna watch it or die trying.
Yeah.
God. There is one thing before we sign off on this. I have a good secondhand Walken story that I would really like to talk about.
And I'm pretty sure, if it's the one I think you're going to be talking about, there's a lot of versions of this story.
There's several versions. We don't know what's true. I want to tell you my first experience hearing about this. I heard it from 2 separate people in L.A., and the story goes like this. Christopher Walken is on the set of Pool Hall Junkies. A PA goes to look for him. They're shooting outside in like a wooded area. The PA can't find Walken. They need him on set. The PA goes and finds a pile of clothes next to a lake, then sees nude Christopher Walken swimming in the lake and says something along the lines of, "Mr. Walken, you're needed on set," to which Walken's reply is, "I don't need to go to set today because today I'm an alligator." And then presumably he eventually puts his clothes on and gets to set because they got to fucking shoot.
Yep.
So that's the story that I've heard. And I tried to look up versions of this story, and there are so many. This is like an urban legend. I don't know what's true and what's not. I bring it up because Shy McBride, the character actor who was on the Dan Patrick Show, had the same story, only it was on the set of The Deer Hunter, and Walken was in a swamp. And then the exact line was, "Today I'm an alligator. An alligator." And that was all he said. And there's another version of the story. Somebody said, "The best celeb story I heard about was during the shooting of Wedding Crashers."
Yep.
They were ready for Christopher Walken. They could not find him anywhere. They go to find him. PA goes to find him. And Mr. Walken says, as he's swimming in a lake, "No acting today. Today, I'm an alligator," in a sing-songy voice. It was then that the crew member realized that Walken's arms were an alligator snout, and he was snapping at imaginary birds flying above the water. Apparently, dude is like Class A certified nuts. That makes me like him so much more. I believe that was on Reddit. And another... Oh, sorry.
I've also heard that same story of somebody who worked on Wedding Crasher, because it was filmed in Maryland.
Okay.
They said that had happened.
On the set of Wedding Crashers?
Yes, but once again, I don't know if that was true or not. They could have just been like... here's a Walken story.
And there's another one on Reddit from July 8th, 2016. Somebody posted, "Friend of mine did some work for a studio that had Walken on set for a while, and she was told to go get him because he's outside in the fountain. She goes out there, and literally he is standing barefoot in a nearby water fountain. She tells him it's time to come in, and all Christopher Walken does is turn to her and say, 'Sometimes I'm an alligator.'" And then there's one other version.
There's another one.
That's the last one, I swear.
Good Lord. Does it end with him being an alligator?
You know what? You're going to have to find out.
Okay, all right. Just I'll sit here in suspense. It's like that Russian roulette scene. I don't know who's going to get their brains blown out. Is it going to be me or is it going to be you?
It's probably going to be you.
Okay.
Butch Walker for Billboard, August 26th, 2016, said, "There's a funny story about how Christopher Walken couldn't be found on set. He skipped out because it was a Sunday. He went sunbathing in a river. They called him like, 'Where the hell are you? You're supposed to be here filming.' He said, 'Today,'" no, what's the line?
"I'm an alligator."
That's it. "Tomorrow, I'm an actor." I think
a little twist there.
A little twist. And then the guy goes on to say, "I think that's my spirit animal and my motto for life. You got to learn which days you're going to be an alligator and which days you're going to be a professional." I think he's trying to be funny there.
And what movie again was that?
There's no movie specified there.
Could be in a movie.
Could be anything.
What if, here's my theory, he does that, he did that on all those movies. That's all true.
Yeah.
That's just his running gag that he does.
He does it every time.
And he did it during The Deer Hunter, right? That was one of the stories?
According to Shy McBride, who had seemed to hear that story, really, this is like fourth-hand Walken we're talking about.
Good.
This is one of these stories, it's like, it must be like a telephone game where maybe there's a kernel of truth in it, but we just don't know.
Well, next episode we'll have to ask him about it.
You seem even more depressed. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's just... this movie we gotta watch next time. It just... I'm thinking about it, and I keep thinking about the poster. Oh, man.
It's all right. We're not going to... It's going to be a couple weeks, at least.
It is going to be a couple weeks. I'll be in China. You'll be in L.A.
Yeah,
we'll get back together to watch this shit show.
We have time. I couldn't stop. There were several times I broke into like spontaneous laughter. I'm just by myself, and then Shayna hears me like, "Why are you laughing?" I just think about how you were calling "Shoot the Sun Down" a dumpster fire movie. I've never heard something described as that. It's exactly what it fucking was.
Terrible.
Well, hopefully this one isn't a dumpster fire.
Oh, it's going to be terrible. Don't even try it. Don't even try to pretend like, oh, it's going to be good. It's not going to be good. This just looks fucking awful.
Well, after The Deer Hunter, anything might seem not very good. I think you're only making it worse for yourself.
You're just going to sit here and you're going to watch this movie. It feels like you're bleeding to death. It's just a long, painful...
Wait, how long is it?
Slow process. I don't know. It's probably like 90 minutes, but it's going to feel like 5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 hour and 42 minutes. That's 1 hour and 42 minutes too long. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, that about does it.
That about
does it for this extended, long edition This is number 12 here. Episode 12. All right, so as always, a very special thank you to Render Perfect Productions for lending us some basic sound equipment to make this podcast here. Here's a little plug for them. Render Perfect Productions is an award-winning Baltimore-based video production and video marketing agency specializing in creating engaging visual content and interactive user experiences. For more info, go to myrender.com. Yeah, that's kind of like our first sponsor for the show. We've had a couple other sponsors, not sponsors, but patrons.
Absolutely. And if anybody wants to, if this was what you were about to say?
Yes, that is what I'm about to say.
Go for it.
I'll let you go ahead and do it.
I apologize.
No.
Patreon.com/Walkin101 if you want to throw us a little bit of money to help support us. We got some good rewards. We got several patrons already. Thank you so much, you guys.
Yeah. Make sure you check out our website, Walkin101, for more info and updates. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Please give us some ratings. Let us know if this show is good.
Yeah. Though we're constantly asking ourselves that. This is
all the time. Is this worth it?
Is this worth it? Or we just...
Because right now it doesn't feel like it's worth it.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted today.
This was a long day.
This was a very long day. But we did it.
Yeah.
We made it. Like us on Facebook. Definitely. If you have any other crazy walk-in stories, pictures, anecdotes, quotes, your favorite quote maybe, share it with us. Let us know. Let us know. There's so many... Walken is a beloved actor. So many people love him. He's been in so many movies. You probably got your own favorites you want to share with us. Please do. Let us know. So yeah. As always, we like to end the show with this. As always, thanks for walking with us.
Thank you.